Wow, it's quite an honor and privilege. First of all, I have to clear this up. I'm not a lawyer. And, and I have always thought that facing a lawyer once or maybe twice is good enough for a lifetime. And now here I am, facing how many of you? Maybe 100? All at the same time. Great. Let me start out by congratulating the recipients of the award, of the scholarship. You have earned it. You deserve it. I salute you. Keep up the good work. And during the reception time period, I got the great honor to be served a glass of red wine by our trailblazer here, Bác Pol Nguyen. So now if my speech is not so coherent, I can place the blame on him. Well, this is a room full of accomplished lawyers, professionals, judges, and that is the sign of the progress made by our community, a community of refugees not too long ago, and immigrants. Now, yesterday, one of yours, a very prominent law professor, Viet Dinh, gave a very eloquent speech about our responsibility to serve. For the past 20 years, I have had the privilege to train younger Vietnamese Americans just for that, to serve. Now, some of you might be thinking of that one intern of mine that later on turned out to be the first Vietnamese American member of Congress. I'm very proud of him. We all should be. However, today I'm not talking about Joseph Cao. I'm talking about another intern who came to me 10 years ago from San Diego. So one day I was driving down the road, giving him a ride. We were very excited about talking about community service and work. And I mentioned to him about an organization by the name Lac Viet in Louisville, Kentucky. He got all excited, telling me, "Anh Thang, this is great. This is a great name. Lac Viet is a great name." I was puzzled because I didn't expect that he could comprehend the significance of that name, Lac Viet. You all know about Lac Viet? According to legend, some 5,000 years ago, there were a number of Viet tribes that coexisted on the south bank of the Yangtze River. And collectively, all these tribes, Viet tribes, formed the Bac Viet civilization. Unfortunately, that agrarian civilization was attacked and crushed by the nomads coming down from the north. Few Viet tribes survived. One of them, the Lac Viet, named after the legendary bird, Chim Lac, moved south to escape extermination. And they started building a new nation, now known as Vietnam. And that was the story of the birth of Vietnamese nation. I didn't expect this young man of 21 who barely speaks Vietnamese to know that. So I asked him, "Why do you say so?" He still very excited told me, "I know, at least out there's one organization to help people like me." I was waiting. Like me, you know, Lac means lost. Viet means Vietnamese. Lost Vietnamese like me. So first of all, I found that to be kind of amusing. But knowing his background, I felt very sad, painful in my heart. He came from a dysfunctional family. He was the only member of his family entering college. During college years, he had to pick up soda cans and sell them to support him through college. And he barely graduated with a GPA of exactly 2.0. He had no guidance, no role models like some of you have now, no direction in life. We are more fortunate than that intern of mine. I know that you all are more fortunate because you are the success stories and the pride of the Vietnamese American community. We as refugees who arrived here not too long ago have made great strides, have achieved so much in many different fields in such a short time. That's great. That's amazing. If there's a who's who publication for Vietnamese Americans, every single one of you in this room should be honored, not only for your accomplishments, but for giving back, for your contribution. However, there's still something that doesn't seem right in our community. Not quite right. For the past 36 years, in my view, our community has failed to invest in our own future. You succeeded because your hard work, because the sacrifices and the guidance of your parents, and not because of a collective effort of our community. There are many younger Vietnamese Americans out there who are not as fortunate. They're crying out for help, and nowhere is our community there to help them. 2 days ago, I talked to a local Vietnamese Student Association right in Fairfax, not too far from here. And the students struggled to raise $3,000 to kickstart a tutoring program for high school students, high school kids. Something's not right, because every weekend across the country there's so many fundraisers raising millions of dollars, but all for projects in Vietnam. There's something not right. And I have met so many young kids in Bayou La Batre, Alabama, Camden, New Jersey, Louisville, Kentucky, Orange County, you name it. They drop out of high school. They don't know what the career path means. There's no role models for them. And yet, there's so many projects to build schools in Vietnam and to give scholarships in Vietnam. Something is not right. I have met so many families, thousands of families in the Gulf Coast, who lost their livelihood, and they don't have access to health care. I've known many people who have never seen a doctor, and yet there's so many medical missions to Vietnam throughout the years. Something is not right here. And there are about 130,000 Vietnamese-owned small businesses across the country. Through those businesses, our parents have produced so many doctors, engineers, lawyers, artists, and there's no program to help them. These mom and pop businesses, they're struggling, especially at this difficult time. Something is not quite right with our community. Now, let me be very clear too. For the past 30 years, I have spent a good portion of my time to serve the people in Vietnam. So I'm not against projects in Vietnam. I think that we have to be very balanced in our priorities. We care about our people in Vietnam, but we should also care about our own community here, the future of this community, and we should care about America that has embraced us all. Now, as a community for the past 36 years, we haven't focused on building the infrastructure for our community. By that I mean the institutions, Those institutions are the organizations that are well established, with paid staff, with programs, with offices, facilities, sustainability plan, and good governance. We need those institutions so that we can rally the resources from across our community and beyond, so that we can rally all the talents in the community, so that we can continue our good work way beyond an individual's commitments. And we need that. We need that, those institutions to rally and bring people together and create a voice, have influence, and take part in this democratic system. Without such institutions, many of our parents and grandparents would never be able to be part of this great nation because they don't speak the language. But with institutions, they will gain a voice. We as a community, we have plenty of associations, thousands of them, but we have very, very few institutions. Now, for every 1,000 Americans, there is on the average one established institution. At the tune, we should have had 2,000 Vietnamese American institutions. How many are there out there? I think fewer than 50. You can verify that. Just go back to your own local community and look around and start counting how many do you know? How many out there to address the needs of our community? Very, very few. The associations come and go, and usually they die with the founder. We cannot afford that as a community because we want our community to continue to grow and progress. We need institutions. So for the past 36 years, we have not focused on building institutions for our community. And we lack leaders too. Every one of you here is a leader. There are plenty of leaders. You're great leaders in your own fields. But there's one type of leaders that we don't have enough of. Those are the leaders who go out there and organize and build communities. They are the leaders who know, understand the intricacies and the intrigues of the community. They know how to speak to different groups and segments of the community. They know how to build bridges to connect the community with the mainstream society. They know how to solve problems. They know how to resolve conflicts. They know how to rally everyone around a good cause. We don't have those leaders. And we haven't spent that much time to think about training them. What you do tonight is truly exceptional because you do give back, because you do care. You reach out to the younger ones. You serve as the role model. And you focus on the community here, on America. That's great. But so sad that it is an exception. It should be the rule and not the exception. So we need change. We need to change now. And therefore, for the past 12 months, I've been traveling the country, talking to a lot of people, young and old, on college campuses, at community centers. I've met many of you. I travel to big cities and small towns to deliver a message, a very simple message. Let us invest in our own future. The future of our own community. And let us do it now, before too late. Why is it might be too late? The people like me standing here, and many of you, most of you, we form the bridge generation. Because we can go into the mainstream rather smoothly, can function there rather effectively, and yet we are very well connected to our own community. We still understand the people who recently arrived from Vietnam. We can serve as the bridge. But once our generation fades into the twilight of our life with a replacement, that, my dear friends, will be too late. So we have to start now. And amazingly, that message has resonated everywhere I went, to every age group, parents and children. The parents truly believe that they want to see their children to do better. And the children, the younger ones, they're excited and inspired to step up and take over the torch from the previous generation. But they need to be ready. Someone needs to prepare them for that task, huge task. So this coming July 2nd, some 200 to 300 of those accomplished leaders in the community and emerging leaders will all convene here in the nation's capital on that very special day that preludes the birth of the new nation, America, a great nation, with one common purpose, and that is, together, collectively, we will advance our community in all three sectors at the same time: the government sector, the business sector, and the social sector, all at the same time. In the government sector, we call that the government tract. That tract will develop a plan to encourage Vietnamese Americans to go into public service, to join the military, to serve America, to run for office, to campaign for candidates that we believe in, to advocate for policies that we think is the right policy for this country and for our community, and to participate in civic activities. The second track, the economic development track, we encourage Vietnamese Americans to climb the corporate ladder, prepare them to do so, to encourage more entrepreneurs, and also to help the mom and pop shops to grow and reach into the mainstream market. And we'll promote the formation of more chambers of commerce at the local level. The third track, that is the community organizing and building track. We will incubate a lot more nonprofits in our community. We will grow existing ones, make them sustainable, long-lasting, to grow the capacity to serve. And we will organize the community to be united around a common cause. And in support of these three tracks, we will launch two initiatives. We call them the enabling initiatives. They enable the implementation of those plans. The first initiative will be research. We don't know enough about ourselves. There's not enough data about ourselves. If we don't know about ourselves, we cannot plan. If we don't know where we are now, we cannot plan and develop a strategy on how to get to where we want to be in 10 years. So we need to know. And there are enough scholars and researchers among ourselves, our community, and they are excited to take on that challenge and that responsibility. The second track will be to train lawyers. I call that 500 in 5 years. So in the next 5 years, with all your help, we will train 500 leaders of our community. They will be leaders who will think like strategists. They will be leaders who will act like architects to build our community up. They will be leaders to be problem solvers, to address the many needs, entrenched needs in our community. So, we will come together and hope that many of you will be there too, because we need every single person. We need to pull together all the resources. We don't have much time. And each track, each initiative will have a steering committee. They're just like any other participants, but they voluntarily assume more responsibility to do all the homework for other participants, so that everyone will come ready and informed to make decisions on that day. And everyone will go back to their community with a plan ready for execution the next day. And many of those steering committee members are somewhere in this hall here. If you're here, please raise your hands so that they can, oh yes, and so that they can, too, others can approach you and ask more. Now, some may think that this is too grand a vision, too daunting an endeavor. I have to admit, that vision is grand. And Professor Vietling did mention about grand vision. It is grand, but that's exactly what we need now at this critical juncture of our community's history. We need a vision that is grand enough so that everyone can embrace. Everyone can find a role and a place within that vision. It has to be big enough to inspire. It has to be grand enough to turn differences into diversity. And yes, the tasks, the challenges are daunting indeed. But we have faced worse before. Just think of the days. I can think of those days when my family on that flimsy boat in the midst of the ocean. The challenge of the high seas and the dangers of the killing fields that some of us and many of our parents had to traverse are much more daunting. And let's think of our parents who came here empty-handed, and they rebuilt their lives, their families, and still contribute to their loved ones in Vietnam in a totally strange land with no experience. They don't even speak the language. That's daunting. And let's think of the Latvian tribe 5,000 years ago. Their nation-building endeavor was much more daunting. And we have here all the beautiful minds and the compassionate hearts. Together, we will overcome the challenges, no matter how daunting they may be. So please do join us. Come together on that special day in July and be part of that transformational initiative for our community.